Thanks for joining us today. I'm Gabe Garish, owner of Backwoods Pursuit, and today we're going to do a Tooth of the Arrow broadhead review. I was able to use these 125 grain Tooth of the Arrow broadheads this last season and was able to test their durability, how they flew in the air, how they tuned up, and how quiet they were in flight. So I'm going to bring all that to you, share my experience with you. So if you're looking for a new broadhead, you can take a look at these and see if there's something that is going to fit into what you need. As always, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put a link to our website, backwoods.pursuit.com. Tons of gear reviews over there as well. You can go check that out. And I will put a link to the Tooth of the Arrow broadheads if you want to check them out. Let's get started. All right, now a couple of the basics of the Tooth of the Arrow broadhead. This is the 125 grain version in the solid. It comes in a vented as well and some other grain weights, but this is the one that I tested here. This is the 4-blade. As you can see, it is black oxide treated, so it's going to reduce the glare of the steel, which can be nice out in the field. You can also tell it's very, very short in the ferrule length. This is 3/4 of an inch as I measured it, as opposed to, say, the Day 6 broadhead, which I've tested next to this one. It's much, much shorter than that, which creates a steeper blade angle. So some people prefer that, some people don't, but that does aid in its flight as well. And that's definitely the way that it performed for us in our testing. Now you have a 1-inch cut diameter here, and because of the fact that you have a 4-blade broadhead, you have 2 inches of total cutting diameter, cutting surface. So you have something that's going to really aid you in creating a better blood trail, which is very, very useful when you're out hunting. Now, because of that also, you have more cutting surface that tends to reduce penetration a bit. So depending on your arrow weight and your arrow setup, you may or may not want to go with a 4-blade, but you're going to get typically better blood trails with a 4-blade. In my case here, I've got a 585 grain arrow, and it's flying at 270 feet per second, so I wasn't worried at all about having enough penetration with a 4-blade broadhead like this. So, but take that into consideration into your setup if you're selecting a 3-blade, a 2-blade, or a 4-blade like this. Now the super short overall length does a couple of things. On the positive side, it makes these very, very durable. Short length is going to be more difficult to bend or break, so that is fantastic combined with that one solid piece of machined high carbon steel. It definitely gives you better flight in the air as well, so there's going to be less tuning potentially that you need to do. These, for me at least, I just was able to put them on. They flew with my field tips and the other broadheads. Of course, like I mentioned, my bow is already tuned for the other broadheads, but it was awesome. I could just screw them on and just go to shooting with them. Now on the trade-off to that for me is that because of that, you have a very, very steep blade angle, 45-degree blade angle. So that's going to be potentially more prone to deflection if you have a steep angle that you're shooting, and say a steep quartering away shot on an animal. Potentially you could have more deflection off of a rib or something of that nature. Something to take into consideration. The blade thickness here is 0.40, so very thick and durable blades as well, which also is a pro to these, that they, again, the blades are very, very durable. So you're going to have always trade-offs one way or the other. Super long broadhead is going to be more susceptible to tuning problems. It's going to be more difficult to tune in my experience anyways, but then you have a less steep blade angle, so it's going to aid in penetration in that kind of a situation. So there's trade-offs to all the designs here, but that's one of them that I found with the Tooth of the Arrow broadheads. Now this broadhead right here is one that I used all season long. This was one of my practice broadheads. I shot it into targets, missed targets, did some long range target shooting at, say, 80 plus yards, even 100 yards. And the few times I did miss the target here was shot into some pea gravel, that sort of thing, bounced all over the hill. And it really came back just fine. There's, a few little chips in the blade and whatnot. So if I really wanted to bring this back and sharpen it back up, I easily could. Now to do that, you would want to pick up one of the Tooth of the Arrow broadhead sharpeners or another 4-blade style sharpener, because a 3-blade is going to be not going to work with this. So a file or something of that nature will work just fine. But I did really great in practicing and using one throughout the entire season without any issue whatsoever, and I could bring it back for hunting season super easy. Now this one here was my hunting arrow, and unfortunately this year I didn't get to take an animal with one of these. I was hoping that I'd be able to, so I'd have some footage on that to bring to you on this video, but I didn't. The bull wouldn't step out from behind the tree this year, but it was close. Almost was able to utilize this broadhead and see how it did on animal. But that being said, is what it is. Blood trail, I would expect to be very good with these because of those foreblades. You just get more cutting surface area, which is always a good thing when you're looking for a blood trail. Again, like I mentioned, because of what I'm shooting here with the heavy arrow at a substantial speed, I'm not worried about getting enough penetration with the foreblade, but definitely take that into consideration. If you're shooting a low poundage or an arrow that's not flying real fast, you may want to go with a 3-blade or a 2-blade with bleeders or something of that nature to make sure you get enough penetration on your arrow. So for me though, I can't speak to blood trailing and whatnot, how they did, because unfortunately, like I mentioned, I didn't get a chance to try that out this year. But they did fantastic for me all season, testing them out on targets down at the range, in rocks, resharpening. They're just super durable, and was really happy with the way that they flew as well. Super quiet, really liked that aspect. Not all broadheads are quiet. It's definitely something I look for in a broadhead, which these had as well. Now when I got these in, I put them all on the scale, and all 3 of them weighed exactly 124 grains. There's no deviation from one to the next, so that's awesome. And they're made in USA, which is fantastic as well. Love supporting USA made products, so take that into consideration as well when you're looking at these. So that is my experience with the Tooth of the Arrow broadheads. Again, I wish I would have been able to take an animal with these to see how they did on the blood trail and get some footage that way, but unfortunately animals didn't cooperate this year, and so didn't get that for you, but did get a lot of experience with them throughout the summer practicing with them, and they did fantastic. So drop any questions or comments. We'd love to help you out if we can, answer any questions if we can. I'll put a link to these down in the description for you so you can check them out for yourself. Thanks for watching here today, and we will see you next time.